Kent, I will say, you sort of announced this sort of a soft launch on the pod account this Sunday, but I guess we're a Maryland podcast now. On the bye week, you were in whatever they call their stadium watching Lincoln Riley poop his pants. So, opening up here, Kent, recap the Maryland game for us.
Yeah, really, that was I've lived in Maryland my whole life. That was the first UMD football game I've ever been to.
No shit.
It really is a basketball school. But for all intents and purposes, interesting stadium, way different than Heinz Field. I had a game day experience, which was very different. Obviously, on campus stadium. Security was barely there. I had to literally seek out the guy to show him my ticket to get in. I could have just easily walked in. There was no ushers. There were people in my seats when I got there, so we ended up sitting way closer to the field than the tickets we actually bought. It was just super unorganized. I think they just don't typically have that many fans at their games. Because it was, lower bowl was full. The stadium, the way it's set up, there's really only an upper deck on the away side. But since I was sitting on the away side with some USC fan friends, it was interesting game day. But yeah, I couldn't really see that part of it. But everything else that I could see was full by a couple minutes into the game. So good atmosphere.
My only other follow-up question is: do you agree with the field storming of beating a 3-4 USC team?
No, I don't. I didn't even put it together at first. I was like, oh, that's cool. They're storming the field. I kind of wish we could do that when we beat a good team. And then I realized I was like, oh, wait, that team's literally 3-4. So yeah, in the moment, just didn't really hit. It was just like, oh, that's cool. They're storming the field. I don't really get to see that much. But yeah, in hindsight, or shortly after, you kind of realize it's that's not really a team you should really be storming the field against. Cool comeback win, between Pitt and the Terps on Saturday. Been fortunate enough to be present for some pretty cool comeback victories in college football this year. I simply didn't have a dog in the game. Was simply rooting for the over. Thought it was dead. The Trojans had a chance to pretty much put the game on ice with a field goal. The Terps block it. Had a pretty sweet return with a couple lateral and a forward lateral.
Yeah, I saw that.
But I drove down the field and they pulled it out. So really entertaining football game. Honestly, it was way more entertaining than I thought it was going to be. I really thought USC was going to cover 7.5, and the Terps pulled out a 1-point win. So, pretty cool game. Not sure I'll go to another game there. That might be the best Maryland football game in recent memory, outside of that Ohio State game that they almost won, with Dwayne Haskins.
That was what,
a number of years back?
6 years ago at this point. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Kent, it's funny you're talking about how bad the security was, but they actually weren't the worst defense there today or that day. It was Lincoln.
Nice.
Contribution to this discussion.
All right, we're fucking around. Let's talk about Pitt, boys.
First down, goes to the sidelines, has a man
Reminds me of last year in the Garden against St. John. And guys just stepped up. Blake hits a what the hell 3. We're like, what are you doing? And he's done that all year.
Klicka out to Bizzario. It's over. The Pitt Panthers have upset Wisconsin. Anybody if he hits his field goal. Up and got it. Sauls does it again.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Simplify Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Kaminsky. We're not talking about Maryland anymore. We just had an extended bit go, but we did have a soldier on the ground there. No recon. We don't play those teams, but the voice you were hearing was Kent Vanderwood. How you doing tonight?
Doing well, Zach. Another week, no loss by the Pitt Panthers.
It feels so good to go into another week undefeated. We'll get into Pitt's next game soon, but Mason, how you doing tonight?
Doing well. I was at a wedding this Saturday, so definitely missed watching the Panthers, but excited for a little Thursday night game this week to get back into it early. I don't even have to wait the full week for more Pitt football.
Yeah, and I will just give everyone a heads up on the contents of this show. The three of us used our bye week to focus on things really sort of outside of watching 18 hours of football for the entire weekend. I caught a little bit of some games I do want to shout out before we go into the preview. But just want to warn everybody, overall, I maybe caught a combined one game's worth of football this weekend. I did catch a lot of the Maryland game because it was on at every bar I was at with my buddy Tom from my school. Shout out Tom. But before I do any of that, because I always forget to do this, I put this at the top of the show notes today. Just want to shout out to still number one for basically 2 months in a row, Pitt volleyball. After losing their first set of the year against SMU during the Cal game, they've bounced back with sweeps of Cal and now number 5 Stanford, which leads up to a very big matchup, I believe this Friday against Louisville. If this wants to load and tell me. Yep. So 7 o'clock this Friday in the Pete. So day after the football game. It's on ACC Network Extra, so you got to go through the whole ESPN Plus rigmarole. But this is the biggest game of the year for Pitt volleyball. I believe it's a total sellout of the Pete, just like the Penn State game. And this is going to be just probably the best match of the year at home. This is a true rivalry. These teams hate each other. And it's going to be fun to see what Pitt is going to do to another top 5 team, because now with Stanford, they've swept 2 teams in the top 5, and they've swept a number of teams in the top 25.
It's really crazy how many ranked matchups they have.
And you know what's funny about that? It's like, I think they've won 7 ranked games at this point. Nebraska maybe has 1 or 2 more. I think they had 8 the last time I checked with Dom. In the committee's rankings, which seeds the tournament, they have Nebraska at number 1 overall, which dropped today. Even though, and it's basically, you can tell it's just based on ranked matchups, because in common opponents, Nebraska was swept by SMU. Meanwhile, Pitt has a sweep of SMU and then lost to them in 5 sets only like 3 days later. So like that's just something you never see in volleyball, is playing the same team back to back like that. So I don't know. But yes, I think they're up to like 7 ranked matchups, and they can get another one if UNC stays in the top 25. But yeah, they're a wagon. Just want to shout them out because I always forget to. I don't mean to disrespect them. The other piece of business, our pinned tweet at Simplify Pod is a hype video that I have had bouncing around my head for a couple weeks now. You'll understand what I mean when you get to sort of the end of it, but you've never seen a quirked up white boy use Steely Dan music in the way that I have. Let the sounds of the Dan serenade you. Real quick, let's talk some big games from last weekend. Like just talk about them. And it's just really 2 games I want to talk about. That being Tennessee beating Alabama 24-17, and Georgia beating Texas 30-15. I don't think the SEC is very good, other than like maybe Georgia. I think the Texas O-line looked awful. Alabama and Tennessee both don't have real offenses, and they're gonna get like 4 bids in the playoff, and they don't deserve it.
That's SEC bias.
We've really got to do something. We've really got to, like, tar and feather Greg Sankey. I think that would be good. Maybe kidnap Paul Feinbaum. I think that could do us well. Wouldn't win so many points. Maybe they would sort of call us, some not so nice words. They'd say our profession was illegal, but you do what you have to do to get the SEC bias out of this sport. Real quick, also going to run around the ACC before we get into this week's game at Syracuse. Starting on the weeknight games, Virginia Tech beats Boston College 42-21. Safe to say that Boston College is out of the running for that second tier in the ACC. Virginia Tech is sort of turning it on after that Miami loss. Duke gets their first ever win against Florida State in 21 tries, 23-16 at home, in a game where they were favored, which is just kind of crazy to say when you're talking about Duke and Florida State. Clemson beats Virginia 48-31. I think that I'm a little shocked at how many points Virginia was able to score, but Clemson just kind of taking care of business against those lesser teams in the ACC. Virginia's sort of out of that conversation too, even though they're having a better year than expected. Notre Dame handles business against Georgia Tech 31-13. SMU rolls at Stanford 40-10. Wake Forest gets away with one against UConn 23-20. And California might be cursed. They lose on a last-second missed field goal against NC State 24-23 to drop to 0-3, 0-4 in the conference. On the other end of that, Miami escapes a game at Louisville 52-45. I guess Miami's just going to keep doing this maybe. I don't know. They have to lose one eventually, but that secondary is really bad. Unfortunately, they just get bailed out by their litany of skill talent on offense.
Yeah, this was one of the games that we kind of focused on last week. Was I think actually the Christmas matchup of the week as well. Yeah, like we said, I mean Miami's due for a loss. They keep finding a way to pull these out. Granted, I mean that's what good teams do. Regardless, they find a way to win. That's what they've done. That's similarly that's what Pitt's done this year. So I can't talk too much crap on that, but yeah, man, it's coming. Like they play Florida State next. I don't foresee them losing that game, but at some point, somebody's going to take them down.
Maybe Florida State is the funniest spot that they could lose, and maybe that's what we have to start considering. I think we've been considering them losing in terms of what teams could do it. But maybe it's just the funniest team. Like maybe Cal wasn't funny enough. Louisville certainly wasn't funny enough. Not as Virginia Tech, but Florida State you talk me into. But Cal though, I mean, Jesus Christ, they sort of have. Remember that awful Nebraska team a while ago, or a couple years back, that lost 9 one-score games. I think it was like 2021. It was the year that I think it was the year before Scott Frost gets fired, but Cal is sort of on that path. They've already lost 4 of them. The only winless team in conference play at this point. So, But that's enough about the weekend that was. Let's talk about the game coming up. Week 9, Pitt's Thursday night game of the year. Their one and only. 7:30 p.m. on ESPN. They welcome the 5-1 Syracuse Orange. 2-1 the ACC in the receiving votes column of the AP poll. Pitt at number 19. As we mentioned at the top of the show, unbeaten, 2-0 in the conference. Do you guys have any sort of feelings, takes before we dive into this?
Dude, I mean initially, it's just obviously we're 19th. They're technically 27th. They're second of the teams receiving votes outside of the top 25 in the AP poll. This would be obviously a huge win to just let us relax the rest of the weekend. Just find a way to get it done, boys.
Yeah, I was going to comment on the same thing, that you don't see a number next to Syracuse name here, but I think far and away the best team. This will be the best team that we've played up until this point. Very experienced quarterback. Could definitely give us some trouble, but I think if we go out and play Pittsburgh football, if we get a better game than 2 weeks ago from Eli Holstein, very, very doable. I feel like good things happen at Thursday night. Those games we play have been some memorable ones. Maybe just say that. It's not always good, but they've been memorable. But yeah, I think we can definitely do it. I feel good. This is very, very excited to watch this game.
Yeah, I think I saw a stat that Jim Hammond of Panther Lair posted that all time Pitt is 12-15 in Thursday games, something like that. So it's about a 50-50 shot. Let's start with their quarterback, though, and you probably know who it is at this point, Kyle McCord, who is, if nothing else, throwing a lot of passes. Already, he has thrown 282 passes on the year for over 2,000 yards, 19 scores, 6 picks. I think he's like, that comes out to like almost 40 something attempts a game. Let me
Yeah,
just
I
see if
was
he,
doing some quick math. They've played 6, right? So not
yeah,
7.
he has not thrown below 42 passes in a game, which is kind of shocking seeing how they are how they're winning a lot of games like that. But he has been pretty good. Um, he has come up big when they needed to. This offense is scoring a ton of points, and it's really because they are throwing a ton of plays out there. I mean, McCord, like I said, 282 passes, but LaQuint Allen, their leading carrier, rusher, sorry, has 94 carries. They do have a number of weapons on their offense. I think LaQuint Allen and Yassine Willis make a pretty good running back tandem. They're all right. Um, they've got Aronde Godson catching balls for them, sort of as their number one flex tight end sort of guy. Jackson Meeks is their leading receiver, though. I believe he might have been a transfer in, but I'm not sure about that. Do not quote me on it. The thing is, though, when it comes to Kyle McCord, I think the book on him has been out for a while. And you saw it in the Stanford game where their defensive front gave Syracuse a lot of issues earlier in the year. They sacked McCord a lot. They got him to throw some really bad picks. They stopped the run game. And like he was just thrown off all night. Syracuse only scores 24 in that game, so they only lost the season. They were almost, I think they were probably on track to lose that UNLV game if they just aren't going up against lesser athletes. And I don't love their result against NC State, like a bad NC State team where they only win by 7 on the road. McCord is fine, but like I don't love that. They didn't. And then my other thing is that this Syracuse defense really is not the greatest. I mean, they let a bad Stanford team win against them. They let UNLV put up 41 on them. They let Georgia Tech put up 31. Like you can move the ball on Syracuse. I think that Marlowe Wax is good up front, but I think that was a lot of talking. But I think the two keys to this game, Kent, you mentioned it. You cannot have a bad game from Eli because McCord and this offense are putting up a lot of points. But two, if you get pressure on McCord like you did against Fernando Mendoza last week, and you start hitting them, I mean, Pitt had 6 sacks last week. If they get 6 sacks on Syracuse, I think they win this game very easily. And the other thing is, what's the weather going to be like in Pittsburgh this Thursday? Because, okay, so at kickoff, it's going to be in the 50s and dropping. I'm curious to see how Syracuse plays in the outdoor environment. Now, there's not supposed to be any rain, but when the ball gets a little cold, and Syracuse famously is a dome team, that's something I want to keep an eye out for this Thursday. That was a lot of me talking. I'll open the floor back to you guys.
Yeah, I actually just looked. It's like the coldest day all week. It's supposed to be like 80 degrees or 83 tomorrow, 78 Wednesday, and then like high of 60 on Thursday. So, yeah, interesting offer there. Or, not offer. Point there, Zach. But, I mean, they do play in a dome. They're used to the cold, though. You got to think, living up there. Not McCord necessarily, but uh, I don't know. Mason, any thoughts?
I think defense is going to have to step up big again.
Yeah.
We're not going to hold this team to, what do we hold Cal to? 15? Was that
15.
what they ended up with? We're not going to hold this team to 15, but anything we could do to limit this offense that's putting up a lot of points is going to be a big help. The over under is at like 61.5 right now. I think with the way we know both of these offenses could play, I could definitely see that going over. So I think a lot of the game plan is the same. Like limit the big stuff. You said it. Get to Kyle McCord early, because I think the earlier we can kind of make him uncomfortable, the easier it's going to be just to limit a lot of what they do on the offensive side of the ball. But that's it. Yeah, I think that's my X factor this week again is going to be the defense and seeing how they stack up against I guess aside from West Virginia, probably the best offense that we've played with a pretty competent QB.
I think that I'll say that West Virginia is probably the best running offense we've come across.
Yeah,
Syracuse will for sure be the best passing offense we've seen all year. And really, I mean, really, it's up to like, because Gadsden is sort of a wide receiver, tight end flex kind of guy, you really need your safeties and your linebackers to be good in coverage this week, because when he can burn you, he'll burn you. Pitt this year has been a pretty sure tackling team, but like you said, I mean, if the front four and the linebackers are getting pressure like they did last week, you know, Matt Lack, Jimmy Scott, Nick James, and Sean Fitzsimmons, who I think are probably the best 4D linemen that this Pitt team has, we're really doing a number on Cal's O-line, especially late in the game. I think that they need to start strong, but also they need to close out strong. If they are getting pressure and getting sacks late in the game like they did last week, I feel very good about this game. On the other side, though, I would like to see Pitt sort of move the ball better on a down-to-down basis, especially in the run game. Syracuse has been a pretty good running defense, but I'd just like to see them be a little bit better down-to-down, because the offense 2 weeks ago was very much in fits and spurts. And the other thing I'm kind of keeping an eye out on is I think it was Gavin Bartholomew who gave the quote today that Coach Bronowski, the tight ends coach, gave everyone in that room a crowbar. And they said,
I
we're going to
saw
pry
this.
open. First off, awesome quote, awesome thing to do.
Yes.
But you're looking at prying open the Syracuse defense. And I wonder how much that's going to be a factor in trying to get the tight ends involved, because the last couple, honestly, the first 6 games of the season, the passing game has gone through the wide receivers and the running backs. We have not seen a lot from the tight ends. And that is another thing I'm watching to see if they can get that going in the passing game. Because if they have all three of those positions clicking in the passing game, I don't know how you stop it. Is basically my thing. The only thing is like just get a little bit better on third down. That was a huge Achilles heel last week and against UNC. And no more dumb turnovers. I hope Eli's you have to hammer into his head that you can't throw late across the middle, because that's how one of those picks, and I think one of those picks last week was thrown. It was just a bad decision late across the middle. That's all I've got, unless you guys have anything else on the Syracuse game.
Go ahead,
Just looked it up. I mean, Syracuse has given up 127.5 yards, rushing yards per game so far this year. I think the ground game, everything's got to work together, like you guys said. I have kind of noticed, Gavin hasn't been as involved. I would like, the fun thing about this Pitt Panthers team is there's a million different ways and athletes on our offense that we can attack you with. But just, quick note on the Syracuse defense, with the 127.5 rushing yards allowed per game so far this year, could be another opportunity for Dez to have a big game. But ultimately, just get Eli back into rhythm early, get him some quick, easy throws early on. I think, the couple games he struggled, he's kind of come out a little bit cold. The Cincinnati game, he was able to get out of it last week, or 2 weeks ago, I should say. He, it never really came together. But, get him some quick, easy throws early, get a drive together early, and let's go win this football game.
Yeah, the crowbar thing, Zach. That I saw that earlier today, And it honestly made me mad that they don't do like football guy of the week on Pardon My Take anymore, because that's like a about as football guy as a move can get. So I loved hearing that. Cool move. I think a good strategy going into the weekend. And the only other like overarching theme I have is just I'm excited for how great of an opportunity this is for the team to get, not a ranked matchup, but a really quality win when pretty much all of the college football voters and eyes are going to be on this game, given that it's Thursday night. Um, if we come out and have a really good, convincing win, like I don't think we start creeping up, into that area where we're fringe playoff rankings, and that's just really cool. That's all.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I will say when it comes to like the voting public at large, Pitt is a very varied team in the polls. There's one guy who has this ranked as high as ninth, which I do appreciate. I think he's the guy from he's the local guy for I believe Georgia. But there's another writer who doesn't have us ranked at all. I forget what school he writes for, but he has a 3-loss South Carolina in over us, and they need to take that guy's vote away. Um, but overall, I think like yeah, if there's like sort of no comeback, uh, no comeback magic, no defense stands on their head. If they just get a sort of like 10+ point win against a Syracuse team that has been feisty and can score a lot of points, yeah, I think this is going to turn some heads, especially on fucking Larry Fitzgerald bobblehead night, which I am very kind of sad we're missing. But shout out to the guy who has our tickets. Hopefully he enjoys his Pittsburgh bobblehead. I've just
Well,
sort of been
my parents are going too, so maybe I'll see if I can get them to grab a couple extra or something. Steal them from some students who don't care about them.
hell yeah, hell yeah. But that's all we got on Syracuse. I think overall, I'm at a 75% confidence ranking here, just because I don't think we're going to have two clunker Eli games in a row. That's my take there.
Yeah, I mean, you have a week off to regroup,
Yeah,
learn from 2 weeks ago.
what's like Narduzzi's record after bye weeks? I always love like the Andy Reid. He's lost like 3 times in his career after bye weeks. Like I'm hoping Narduzzi has some sick stat that he's great after a break.
I found something on Reddit. Let's see if it tells me. Okay, so when did they make this post? Okay, so this is very much out of date. Um,
Is it a good stat or a bad stat?
it was a fine stat. I think at 5 years ago he was 2-2. Um, so okay. In 2022, Narduzzi was 10-4 against the spread off a bye, which Pitt is favored by 6. But that line jumped a ton today. It went from like 3 to 6, and I'm like, I'm a little like, I'm just seeing that, and I'm like, I'm getting worried because that worries me, just sort of in an idiot
Yeah,
way.
I'm wondering what happened to, because I mean it almost has to be something in the Syracuse camp, because I feel like if it would have been something, you know what it was? It jumped 3 points because of the crowbar. That's a crowbar jump right there.
Dude, like honestly, because like the other thing I'm thinking about, I forgot to mention this too, is that in the Cal game we had the entire left side of the line go down, and while Enos and Collier played well in relief, like there were some rumors going around that Branson Taylor's gonna be out for the year, the starting left tackle. Have not seen anything about that, but that would give me reason for concern if we are missing the left side of our line again. I feel a little bit better, off a bye week and getting some game reps against Cal, but I don't know. There has to be some sort of like very pivotal injury in the Syracuse camp. Like I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything to denote that line jump, but I'll take it.
I'm just trying to find the Narduzzi bye record still. Oh, you know what? You want a stat to feel good?
Yeah, give me a feel good stat.
Narduzzi has won 5 consecutive Thursday night games dating back to 2019, and they are 5-3 overall under Narduzzi on Thursday nights.
Bam. I love that.
Yep.
Knock on wood.
We're
All
a
right.
Knock on Wood podcast.
We're always knocking. That's just facts. All right. Real quick, because Pitt is not playing on Saturday, you've got a whole weekend to go and watch college football. Let's start with the ACC as always. Stop me if a game interests you. We've got Louisville at Boston College on Friday at 7:30. I believe that's on ESPN2. The Pitt game, by the way, is ESPN proper on Thursday. Moving into Saturday, you've got Georgia Tech at Virginia Tech, 12 p.m. on the ACC Network. UNC at UVA, same time on the CW. Wake Forest at Stanford, 3:30 on ACC Network. Oregon State at Cal, 4 o'clock on ESPN2. Florida State at Miami, 7 o'clock on ESPN. And SMU at Duke, 8 o'clock on the ACC Network. Anything in the conference stand out to either of you guys?
I mean, not a lot. Not a lot here. I think that Miami Florida State one has potential to be funny, but I don't see Florida State getting up for it. I guess the next best matchup would be SMU Duke, but just from a scouting perspective for us. But that's
I
really
was
it.
going to say that one's a big watch them because you're playing SMU next week.
Yeah.
All of our listeners, that is required homework that it will be in class next week. You will hear us asking questions about it, and this is half of your grade, and you cannot get it back in recitation. I don't know why I'm doing it. I don't know why I'm doing a bit about that. That was a bad bit.
I was just gonna say, yeah, we want SMU to win that game. Probably, regardless whether Pitt wins or loses.
Yes.
Get them ranked as high as they can be before we play them next week. So
Well, they're ranked what 20?
they're 22nd and we're 19th. So I mean, if we win, they win. Obviously, it kind of depends how the rest of the slate plays out. But that could be, two teams playing each other next week. So
Well, they will be 2 teams playing each other next week. It's not really a can; it's a will. The only other game I really have notes on is I think Louisville Boston College on Friday will probably be the best game in the conference. Everything else I think will probably be pretty crappy. Maybe Georgia Tech,
teams,
Virginia
not
Tech will be fun.
teams. Like
Teens. Okay,
teens,
gotcha.
ranked in
Okay.
the teens.
Okay, I'm stupid. My bad. Hand up. My fault. Going down the rest of the slate though, this one is kind of a fun one. On Friday night as well, 10:30, you got Boise State UNLV on CBSSN. If you are at all a group of 5 head, that is going to be the group of 5 game of the year. Probably the winner of this game, depending on what the service academies do, is going to have a really good shot at the G5 playoff bid. Boise State's ranked 17th, UNLV 6-1. Ricky White is awesome. Ashton Genty is awesome. Going to be a great game on Friday night. I kind of wish it was in Boise for the Smurf turf, but it's not. It'll still be a good one in Vegas. Moving ahead to Saturday, you've got, I don't know, Nebraska, Ohio State doesn't do anything for me after they got smoked by Indiana. Notre Dame at Navy, though. This one's at MetLife. That kind of sucks, but I've got my eye on that. 12 o'clock Saturday on ABC. Navy has looked really good this year. They have a fun offense and a quarterback who can both run and throw. He is the leading rusher out of both of these teams coming into the game. And you know what? We respect the troops here, so fuck it. Navy's going to win that one.
Yeah, we're
The only
Navy
other one,
fans.
yeah, fuck Notre Dame. Only one Big Ten Network game day game, Washington at Indiana. I guess question for you guys: what do you guys think about Indiana 7-0, ranked 13th? They for real?
I think last week proved what they were.
Yeah.
Pretty convincing win last week. Yeah, I knew they were going to be better Knew Signetti was going to get him turned around, but
Who boy has he done that?
yeah, he's done it a little bit faster than I expected. So I'm gonna give them all their flowers. They definitely deserve 13, probably even a little bit higher than that, for being honest. But won't get into semantics with that today.
Yeah, I think that team is very much careening towards a big matchup with Ohio State at the end of the season. Moving along with the schedule here, not a lot of great games to get to the 3:30 slot. You've got Illinois number 20 going to Oregon at 3:30 on CBS. I don't know if I trust Illinois to win it, but they are 3-1 in the Big Ten. They have looked pretty good against sort of inferior competition. They couldn't hold up against the Penn State defense, but I think it should be a good test for Oregon, especially how good this Illinois defense is. Also, at the same time on ESPN, BYU goes to UCF, another unbeaten team. As opposed to Indiana, I think BYU is doing some sort of like Mormon magic because they keep winning these games that they shouldn't, either through 800 turnovers or a score at the last second, as they did last week. I'll just keep my eye on this one because I kind of don't like undefeated BYU. It makes me question if they know something that we don't in the Mormon church.
Well,
And
UCF too. Big scare against Iowa State this past week, who was also undefeated. So they kind of proved they're up to the test with some of these, what some would say, fraudulent undefeated Big 12 teams. So I'm pretty sure that there was a pick six that was called back in that game because he dropped the ball before he was in the end zone, and that totally flipped the
no,
narrative.
they scored on the next play after that one. It was that they ended up scoring on the very next play. See, he
Oh,
dropped it to one, and if you drop it and no one recovers it because everyone just kind of just didn't pay attention enough, they just spot it there for the team that got the pick.
okay. Well then, never mind. But still, they were in that game. They're
Yeah,
up.
they did give Iowa State a big scare.
So BYU's only a 1.5 point favorite, but I could definitely see UCF winning that game.
Yeah. I've got nothing on Missouri, Alabama on ABC at the same time. I think both of these teams are actually kind of bad. Missouri needing a big comeback in the fourth against a terrible Auburn team, and Alabama just looking out of sorts ever since that first half of the Georgia game. No further analysis on that one. Moving forward into the 4:00 slot, let me hit you with this one. The biggest game in Vanderbilt history to this point is when they host number 5 Texas at 4:15 on Saturday.
Number 25 ranked Vanderbilt.
Number 25 ranked Vanderbilt.
I kind of feel bad for Vanderbilt because this has get right game for Texas written all over it. I hate to say it, but I love Vandy, but coming off that loss, the way they lost to Georgia, this feels
100%,
like
yeah.
a tough one for them.
Yeah, because the thing about that Georgia game was that Texas got worked on the offensive line, but their defense was still pretty good. I don't know if Vandy's sort of like option style offense is going to work again against another top 5 team. I think that Vanderbilt is just going to get scored on a ton by Texas. It'll be the only way they can even make this close is if the offense is working like it did against Alabama, because it didn't look great against Ball State. I do not have the feeling that Vandy's going to pull another cat out of the bag with that one. I will say though, all time Vanderbilt 8-3-1 against Texas.
Wow.
They last played in 1928.
All right. Well, hey, that is a stat. We don't have to know the second part of the stat. Just know that all time, Vandy is kind of Texas's daddy.
No matter what happens, Vanderbilt will exit that game with a winning record against the Longhorns. Moving into the night slot here, a lot of big games here. A lot of big games, a lot of rivalry games. We have Penn State going to a resurgent Wisconsin. We've got LSU at Texas A&M, number 8 at number 14. By the way, Penn State, Wisconsin on NBC, LSU on ABC. We've got Michigan State going to Michigan at 7:30 on Big Ten Network. Both bad teams, but this is going to be a weird game. I just get the feeling from it. Big rivalry game, always worth the watch. These teams fucking hate each other. Same deal with Kansas going to Kansas State at 8 o'clock on ESPN2. Probably the lesser of the two rivalry games in this slot. Kansas State has been the much better team this year, but still a rivalry game nonetheless. And then real quick, late night shout out to Cincinnati, Colorado, a much better matchup than I was expecting, than I was coming into the year. But these two teams can really score some points. Colorado looked pretty good last week against Arizona. Cincinnati against Arizona State. They're both 5-2 and 3-1 in the Big 12. This is big for Big 12 standings, and I'm rooting for Cincinnati in this one, both for Pitt's strength of schedule and rooting against Colorado.
Yeah, that'd be the old double win for us where it helps us out, and it's always great to see Colorado lose.
Yep. You got anything on the 7:30 games here? Penn State, LSU, and the Michigan game.
I think I might just fuck around and make Penn State, Wisconsin my wouldn't it be funny of the week.
Okay. All right. Talk me through it.
I mean, it's always funny to watch. It's always funny to watch Penn State lose. And if they don't lose soon, I feel like they keep kind of creeping up the rankings. Like, I don't know. It's almost just like we're due for that Penn State letdown game. So I'm hoping that Luke Fickell and the Badgers can get it done.
Yeah, they've been running the ball really well. I don't know how that's going to go against this Penn State front. But night game, Camp Randall, electric atmosphere. I can see it happening. I can definitely see it happening because it's either got to happen this week or next week against Ohio State.
Yeah.
I don't think that Washington, Purdue, Minnesota, or Maryland are getting that one done.
Well, pure look ahead spot too, where
True.
getting ready for Ohio State and Wisconsin comes in and gets one on you. Wouldn't hate that.
That's very true. Kent, I know I skipped over you. Where are we celebrating Christmas this week in October?
It's Halloween weekend this weekend, bro. So we have, in fact, a Halloween matchup this week. Can anyone tell me what two colors make orange?
Red and yellow.
Red and yellow.
Yeah, so we got the Mizzou Tigers taking on the Alabama Crimson Tide at 3:30 p.m.
Okay.
Folks, the Tigers are a 14-point dog. I love them to cover in this one. People are going to say it's a get-right game for the Crimson Tide. The Crimson Tide have not looked good. The Tigers have also not looked very good. But they haven't looked 14 points worse than Alabama bad. So, I don't know, man. I just think people are going to be sleeping on the Tigers in this one. I think they have a chance to go into Tuscaloosa and keep this one interesting. So, keeping my eyes on that one.
I love it. The first ever Halloween game of the week.
It's really what's Oregon's uniforms for this week? Have they announced that yet? Because if they've got if they got black uniforms, that would be it's too early in the week to announce that. But Illinois is the only other orange team in the country. By the way, Kent, I like your analysis of that game. If I were to pick something on that one, I would take the under. I think both these offenses are struggling mightily. I don't think they're going to get over 56.5.
That is a pretty high number.
Speaking of uniforms, what do you guys think of the Illinois leather hat or the leather helmet throwbacks last week against Michigan?
See, they got lucky because that's a jersey that if you lose in that jersey, you feel like a fucking idiot. But they went out and won and looked really good. So I think they were kind of cool.
I think it's the best a team has ever done the leather imitation paint. Usually it does not look that good. I wasn't crazy about the actual jerseys themselves. It looked a little weird, but I did really like the helmets. And you're right. If they did not win in those, that would have been very bad.
It's like I feel like they did what. Do you remember those New York Giants uniforms that they wore? It might have been week 1 this year, where it was they tried to do the whole throwback thing. It felt like that's what they were trying to go for, but Illinois did it pretty well.
agreed. I think Illinois leaned heavier into it.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
All right. I've got nothing else on this week. Unless you guys have anything else, we'll go ahead and get out of here.
Let's do it. Thursday night football, baby.
Thursday Night Football. We'll talk to all of you again soon. If you like the show, follow us on Twitter at SimplifyPod. The highlight video is our pinned tweet if you want to go check it out, and because it's fun, and you should go watch it and maybe retweet it because that would be awesome. But if you like the show, follow us on Twitter. Give us a rating of 5 stars and a review on the podcast app of your choice. It really helps us out, and we will see you very soon.
Hail to Pitt.
Beat the Orange.